Change has come. It's at the door. Everything that was true isn't true anymore. In our hands is a broken crown, and the wars that we lose mean freedom now. Every ending is a chance, a chance, a chance. Every ending is a chance, a chance, a chance. Every ending is a chance to begin again. Every ending is a chance to begin again. Let's dance into battle, start a revolution, turn the heartbreak into evolution. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, from the ashes. Every ending is a chance, a chance, a chance. Every ending is a chance, a chance, a chance. Every ending is a chance to begin again. Every ending is a chance to begin again. Keep marching on. 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 Every ending is a chance, a chance, a chance. Every ending is a chance, a chance, a chance. Every ending is a chance to begin again. Every ending is a chance to begin again. Every ending is a chance. Every ending is a chance to begin again.
The plan for living life, playing the game of life. Rules to the game of life. You will receive a body. You will learn lessons. There are no mistakes, only lessons. A lesson will be repeated until it is learned. Learning lessons does not end. There is no better than here. Others are merely mirrors of you. What you make of your life is up to you. Life is exactly what you think it is. Your answers lie inside you. You will forget all of this. You can remember it whenever you want. Mastering ourselves, being our best selves. My power, my control. Mind, body, soul, which is thoughts, wills, the things you say, and emotions. Principles: learn, grow, teach, help. Foundation: love, health, wealth, happiness. Rules: respectful, safe, responsible. Being a champion, one day at a time. Having accountability, accept responsibility for actions and performance. Culture, living our values, mastering ourselves, body, mind, soul. Excellence, being our best selves by efficiency and productivity. Leveling up in life, showing up for yourself, focus on yourself, core values, decisions, goals, and behavior. Live by, no excuses, take ownership, empower yourself to do better and be more for you. Many are here to help us be the best version of ourselves through learning and development. 2, I'm willing to do the work and you are willing to do the work. The first step to empowering you is creating a structure that helps you eliminate excuses through clarity of responsibility and process. Being a champion to create winning is by having a desire to be the best version of yourself and empowering you to do so daily. Having a better world that is a champion world is that it takes all of us. Everything is energy, vibration, and frequency, which is inside of us all and all around us. What is your energy? Low vibration or high vibration? Low vibration. Empathy, victim, helplessness, blame, negative self-talk, worry, hatred, anger, fear. High vibration. Hopefulness, courage, acceptance, happiness, self-love, gratitude, positive self-talk, trust, knowledge, abundance, forgiveness, unconditional love. Mastering ourselves. Lust, intense desire or craving, greed, excessive selfish desire. Gluttony, excessive consumption. Pride, excessive self-importance. Sloth, laziness, empathy. Envy, desiring what someone else has. Wrath, extreme anger. The unseen laws, spiritual laws you must respect. Core unseen laws. Law of reciprocity, which what you send out, energy, thoughts, actions, returns amplified. Law of authority. Spirits only respect those who know who they are. If you're confused, they dominate. Law of resonance. You attract what matches your vibration. Purity equals clear outcomes. Law of timing. Some doors open only in divine timing. Forcing it equals punishment or delay. Law of spiritual debt. Every lie, scam, or shortcut leaves a karmic invoice until it's paid by pain or repentance. It blocks flow. Law of access. Sharing sacred things with unworthy people gives dark forces access to you. Guard your spiritual intimacy. Law of sacred exchange. Don't ask for something from spirit world without giving something. Prayers, food, fire, service, truth. Law of hidden eyes. Even when no one is watching, you are seen. All thoughts and deeds echo in the spirit realms. Everyone will get exactly what they choose. 3D earth. Fear, division, anger, control, hate, AI. 5D earth. Love, unity, peace, freedom, healing, consciousness. This is the great awakening. If you knew how hard it was and how long it took to rebuild my little universe of peace and happiness, then you would understand why I'm so picky about who I allow in my life. Welcome, I'm Alisha Quinn, and today we are going to be talking about relationships and moving on from relationships. Relationships are a very interesting thing, but what I have truly come to find is that the relationship with myself is one of the most important relationships that I need to have, and creating that unity and peace with my mind, my body, and my spirit, that's a unity. And that's what I've really come to ultimately realize and become aware of. And I have truly had to come to letting go of old habits, letting go of old versions of Alicia, and welcoming new habits for my higher self, even, right? And just, being in my own reality, the straight and narrow road, and coming out of that Babylonian system, because it's nothing more than our shadows. Truly, it's our shadows that, we project, we put out into the world. And it's, truly amazing. And I really, through this awakening journey, and I lost a lot of relationships, a lot of people that were in my life that are no longer in my life, and really working on having healthier relationships, healthier, having healthy boundaries, and these types of things have really been just part of this awakening experience and evolving. Just seeing how I would give and give and give, and trying to please others, and self-abandoning myself even. And that, I really came to a point that spirit put me in to really work on the relationship with myself, right? Because it's hard to give to other people when your cup is empty, right? It's not a selfish thing to do to have that relationship with yourself. And ultimately, it is the higher road to take to have that relationship with yourself, because people and things come and go, but you always have yourself. You're always with yourself, no matter what, no matter who's in your life. You might sleep next to someone, but guess what? You get up in the morning, you're in the shower alone, most likely. But, then you leave, you go somewhere, to work or wherever, you go, even to the store, and who you got with you? You got yourself. And so, I've really had these, very, toxic relationships. That's really what I have come to find, these toxic relationships, that I was involved in, and maybe, I take the road that I was in those energies, because I've done this ascension thing before, right? So I went into these energies to play this game, right? To come out of it and show people how to play the game, to be that guide, that spiritual guide, right? Hey, you know what? The energy you put out, you get back, right? And if you give and give and give, you're going to get that person who takes and takes and takes and takes until you learn that lesson, until you learn that cycle and these things, and just other, even toxic things, right? So I really have come to this point, like I really don't feel like I ever had a real true relationship with anyone. And maybe partly that is because I lost myself, right? I lost myself. I lost the relationship with myself. So how can I have a good, healthy relationship with someone when I don't even have one with myself, right? I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know, some of the things that I was doing and how I treated myself and these things. And, the things we say to ourselves, right? That self-talk even, you know? And so, I've really just come down to this thing of these relationships that were really toxic, were low consciousness, right? So, I had the people in the church, right? And when I go through my spiritual awakening and stuff, and it's just like, all this stuff is just a bunch of BS crap, right? And how do I get out of this thing? And, what about the people, and, my friends, people I cared about, so much, right? And what about, my husband, And it's very interesting going down that journey and walking away from it, right? And the thing is that some people they might call you to, try to get you to go back, you know. Those people aren't for you. I can tell you that. They're not for you. And really on this journey, one of the hardest lessons I have learned is that you do have to, let go, really even detach. We end up attached to these people and these places and things. We're just kind of in this game, playing the same kind of game. So we're playing this game of, being sinners and being victims, and life is so hard, and guilt and shame, and, sometimes jealousy and complaining and these kinds of things. We're not learning, we're not growing, we're not evolving. We keep on doing the same crap, really, same game. And when you truly come to where you are ready and you evolve, you're in this journey of awakening, evolvement, there comes that time where sometimes you got to give up those people, places, and things. And it's truly not an easy road for you to go on. But when you're evolving, when you're changing your energy and your frequency, it's just going to be a matter of time before that does take place. It's something we have to go through. And truly being on this journey of ascension, journey of awakening, the journey of, going to the 5D earth, the state of consciousness, a dimension, right? That you really do truly like let go of everything and truly coming to see that some of those things just weren't serving, your highest purpose, your highest good. Were those things helping me to truly trust spirit, right? Or was I afraid? So, when it comes down to walking away, letting go of relationships, sometimes it's very challenging, especially with a spouse, someone that even in the abusive situations, right? The yelling and the fighting, all those types of things. And sometimes I do truly believe that sometimes those things take place when you do need to move forward on the journey, right? And so, the relationships with the people in the church that I really came to see because I did go to several congregations there, and really the first time that it happened was when I married my former husband, and I moved to where he was at, and really those people that I valued so much and had something to do with, it's like you're not there, and they don't have anything really to do with you. And eventually, when we end up back there, they do. And then we went away for a little while. They don't really have, there might be a couple that you might have something to do with, really, but they don't really have anything to do with you. And so, being on this journey of like what's meant for me will find me, and when it's time, it will leave, it's really our own attachment systems that we're trying, we're holding on to it, or, that abandonment, that rejection of why don't they have anything to do? Why won't they call me? Why are they not letting me be a part of this? And, that's truly where it comes in about having that higher relationship with yourself, because you're always with yourself, and even becoming happy of being alone, right? That, hey, I can find something to do by myself. There's plenty of things that you can find to do being alone. You really can. And so, it's definitely a different experience for sure, but there's always something you can find to do alone. And that relationship with yourself is really such a spiritual journey for sure, because you're always with yourself. And, you know, really, when I came to leaving the church there and my former husband, and I go back in with my family and stuff. And I really had this kind of separate relationship with my family. I really had my own life. I lived a couple hours away, and we would see each other, sometimes, right? But that, when I came back around, there was definitely like this real connection coming back together, and things of participating with, all the holiday stuff and being around, and those kinds of things. And, really going down that journey of detaching, right? I went down the journey of detaching, from those relationships, as I had really, built these relationships up, and it was partly because of fear of losing them from that death jab, right? But it's truly interesting when, really this low consciousness thing is the attachments to the physical world and the physical realm, the people and the places and the things, Even my former husband, Robert, he was just like, he was attached to that home that we lived in, and he was not going to leave it. He was not going to leave, right? And so he stayed there as long as he could, but he was really attached to the place, right? And even the church, right? And so this real spiritual awakening, you really go through this detachment kind of thing, detaching from all these people and places and things, these relationships, right? And that's truly been part of my journey here over these last few years. And really, as I went through that detachment phase of um, detaching from, I had detached from the church, and Robert had passed away by then when I got that message. So it was my family, and I started detaching from my family, and even going through this near life and death kind of situation. Um, really surrendering to that experience for my journey, and it's just it's been just such an interesting journey for sure. And as I got involved with Ronald and things, and was really working on more of my healing, the sexual trauma healing and things, and I really through my attachments towards him, right? As I was kind of detaching, and that was kind of my main focus was him and things. But at the same time, it really helped me to inner reflect and self-reflect at the same time, right? And then really learning this game of a little bit more during that time because I was evolving and I was awakening to more and more stuff and that it was just a reflection, right? So what I saw in him, really, I was seeing in myself, and I had hoped for more out of him, right? But that's not truly who he was, right? So I, then that, is over. And that was hard, really. It was really hard. Again, when you're talking to someone all the time, there's really this attachment to it, and going through where you kind of rip off this bandage of it and you go through this detachment phase, right? And so, we got to end up dealing with that. But really, what it comes down to is that relationship with myself is one of the most important relationships to have. So then, as I, went through those last couple of months there in Washington State before I left Washington State, where even during that relationship with Ronald, really my family, my mother greatly was tested, having some boundaries set in. They're not following boundaries. They're not open-minded to any thoughts or ideas of things and change, all these things, right? Um, they're stuck. They're stagnant. They're not evolving. They're not growing, right? And and so, I go on my journey. I leave Washington State. And yes, that was a big move to make. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And I know on that spiritual level that for one, I agreed to it. I knew I was going to do it, right? And that's totally why I had that vision when I was 23 years old. That and that was my total saving grace, right? I know that I had to do that on that spiritual level for sure. And and then just coming as um that whole journey through that month of July, especially where they were all tested again, about the relationships and things like that. They were all tested. I asked about, working on our relationships and stuff, and they just weren't interested in it. They weren't interested in the relationships. They're not interested in that evolvement of the relationships. And really truly coming to open my eyes of the toxicity of the relationships. I really was like, on eggshells with my mother, because she just, kind of wigs out over different things. That's a learning lesson I got to learn, right? I don't want to be that person. And so just that's part of self-reflection and self-growth that really does come into play there. But then the boundaries that were set and they're taking my daughter behind my back and these things to ask about Ronald. And so, I was definitely shown. Spirit had to show me that these relationships just were not serving my highest good, my highest purpose. And, you know, letting go of my children for the time that you know, I take responsibility and ownership. I was distracted. I was distracted by Ronald. I was distracted by religion in the world. And this is the thing of coming out of it. You got to come out of Babylon, come out of the stuff. And, losing my kids, was like that huge wake up call that I really needed. And not only that, but the spirit universe, whatever you want to say, during this journey, you're going to get that time alone. You have to take it. You have to take it to, evolve and grow and change your frequency. Especially when you're in chaos and drama, you got to have that time. You got to have that time to recalibrate, to heal, renew your mind and things. You got to end up having that time, learning to love yourself and these type of things. I even heard of a married couple on this spiritual awakening, and they decided to just separate and get their own places for like a year while they worked truly on themselves and their inner work and healing, and they came back together. It didn't seem like it was done in a despiteful way, right? Or whatever, but they had to have that time on their own to evolve. And there's not a lot of people who are like in it together, like, hey, let's go ahead and let's have this separation. And I totally understand some people can't just do it on their own. And that's where dependency comes in, right? Financial dependency. And, as we evolve, that's your lack mindset that you have to overcome as well, right? So, um, evolving to the higher consciousness, right? Of really trusting, looking through things with new eyes of abundance, having that self-love, the boundaries that you have to set in with relationships. Just some of those simple things, if people call you at the last minute to do something. See, that's a boundary that I've had to learn to set, and just say, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna just jump for you, right? You got to give me some time. If you need me to help you to run around to the store or something, give me that respect of, 24 hours or whatever, So we have to set in those boundaries in the relationships. And so, but moving on from relationships can be quite challenging. And the thing is that as we grow and as we evolve, it's just going to be something that happens, happens in workplaces. And, the same thing like with the church, right? When you move on from a job place, a lot of those people that you had something to do with, you don't have anything to do with them anymore. These people that you saw day in and day out, pretty much, you go to a different place and now you don't even see them. And that's why really taking things as a learning and growing experience. What did you learn from it? How did you grow from it? How do you benefit from that experience? And we really have to look at those things a lot differently. Good or bad, everything serves a purpose. Everything is for us to learn and grow and evolve and experience. And maybe, and I do really take that as like the church and stuff. It was an experience that I needed to have, and truly even having rejections of relationships that I've really come, I've really gone, which is a self-esteem, even some jealousy issues, not feeling good enough, these kinds of things, right? That there were relationships that I wanted with people or wanted more from the relationship and these kinds of things. But what I truly come to find is that, you know, was that going to benefit my path, my highest path? Because if I ended up with someone who wasn't gonna, you know, they wouldn't have taught me some of the things that I needed to learn from them, for one, right? And for two, that if they really were like a real solid, decent person, right? And there's decent people like in the church, men and stuff, right? Like if I had ended up with that person, I wouldn't have come to a point on my journey to really want to get out of it and get away from it, right? So I had to go through the relationship and things that I went through. I definitely do go along with there's no coincidences, that everything that has been meant for me has found me. And I truly do come to see and come to find this divine orchestration of things, that learning, that growing, that you end up in the right place at the right time, at the right moment to end up involved with someone. And do you learn something from them? Yeah, and maybe they need a lesson from you. And that's the road that I do truly take, is that was partly my journey, my soul contract for coming here. It was to teach some people these lessons that I have taught them. And so really I come to find that those relationships that I didn't get that I wanted or whatever, that they really protected me, right? Rejection is protection, even so. But, as I have come here to restart and renew my mind and these things, there's even been relationships with people that I really have had to come to let go. I was at the Lifehouse shelter for a little while, and the woman running the place, I mean, she's a very beautiful person, soul, right? But, it just comes a point that that I have to understand that the things that I was meant to get out of that whole thing that I got, and it's time for me to let go and move forward, right? And so I've really had to, observe and experience this and really learn this. This is just like this divine dance, this scripted, um, divine dance thing that really happens with our life and our journeys, right? And you just have to eliminate out distractions, work on your energy, and as you raise your consciousness up, it just opens you up where you can see this. And I was also part of this group for some time, this trauma group, where, I really got to this point where I knew everything that I'd gone through and everything that I'd done, and that I'm not the victim of my experience whatsoever. And the people, they're really in this victimized mentality. And I try to talk to them to help them, like, hey, this is how I've, kind of done this to see that I'm not a victim. And at the same time, as I'm trying to express that, we choose our lives. I mean, they were just in a limited mindset, right? And that's the thing when people are limited minded, and they're just not willing to expand their consciousness. They're not willing to evolve and grow. And that's what I really came from, that it was like I victimized them by trying to tell them that they're not a victim to their life. And so it was just kind of at this point that I was like, I think that we're done with this, I think I've served the purpose. It served the purpose for me. And really, coming to that point that it was just kind of like, I got to be done, and it was kind of hard to do that, to say, hey, my journey's just going in a different way, but it served its purpose, no hard feelings on my part at all. And, go forward. And, and that's the thing, that when you don't have that self-love and that relationship with yourself, and things, detaching from the people and the places and the things that they do fall victim of it still, you know, but you can't control what other people are doing, what they feel. You can't make anyone grow and evolve. You can't make anyone, open their eyes to things or, unlimit their selves on, all kinds of things, really. So, the only person that you can truly deal with is yourself. And that I really have come to find is truly the best relationship because people will come and go, but I'm always with me, you know? And, talking about my children as, I went through the separation of my children, really. And that's what I really, come down to with that whole relationship and making peace with their lives, their journeys and their experiences and things. And that sometimes it has nothing to do with me, right? I I'm not I'm not teaching them everything that they need to know on their journey. They have things they have to experience. That is not anything to do with me, right? And so I really had to come to that realization of that when my kid goes to school, there's lessons, there's things from his teacher that he gets and the people there, even friends, right? That is not for me to do. And then it's just still this relationship type deal, not being attached to your children, even because having this connected relationship with your children, with others, that you're just a soul on your own journey. You have your own experiences, you have your own learning lessons, and that a lot of times those have nothing to do with me. Okay? See, maybe I'm not the person for you to learn about being jealous over, right? Or, a jealousy kind of thing, being jealous over. Maybe I'm not that person to teach you that lesson, Maybe, that person comes about that got to teach you about, jealousy or whatever it is, whatever those learning lessons are, being, riddled in guilt or shame, and so learning those lessons and evolving and, sometimes those lessons aren't from certain people, and we got to understand that, and understand that whatever, comes about on my journey that I'm meant to learn from the person, I'm going to learn. And that's really what I've come about is really connecting with my life, connecting with my journey and my experiences. So having this journey of reconnecting with my children and that they have their own experiences, they have their own lessons, they've had past lives before, even that they've been adults before, and that really changes a whole lot of things for me when it comes to those relationships, right? Maybe we have past life stuff that we are meant to deal with in this lifetime, right? And so being that guide for them, being that teacher for them, being that helper for them, and at the same time, learning from them and growing on my experience and that's the thing that we have forgotten about and neglect, that they're just here to, for us to learn and grow from instead of, controlling them and manipulating them or, that sometimes the way we treat our own children even, right? So really coming to, connect with everything. And that's why even with any relationships down the road for me is that all I can do from them is learn and grow so that I can evolve and get to the next stage and the next level. And if someone isn't learning and growing and evolving with me, comes a point sometimes we just have to disconnect, you know? See, it's very different when you come to connect with your life. You've come to connect with your body, mind, and soul, right? Come to connect with it that, I'm one here. I'm one with everyone and everything here. This is part of my reality, my journey, my experience. I'm learning and growing and evolving and coming to that point of, just connecting with it, connecting even with nature, right? And I'm a part of nature. I'm a part of the divine creation, the divine orchestration, this orchestrated divine dance that happens in our journey. And it's really amazing when you come to see that and that you end up at the right place at the right time at the right moment. And some of our encounters with people are very brief. They are very brief. And that's the thing of, hey, you know what? I just learned something from that. I experienced this. I said what I said. If they don't get the learning lessons out of it, that's on them, right? See, sometimes you end up being that messenger for someone, right? If they're not learning it, that's on them. But definitely during this road of moving on from relationships and things. And really, when I look at my kids, like my children aren't going to be with me forever. And that's the thing that people really have a hard time with, And just that I am here to teach and help them and learn and grow from them. And that's what they're here to do for me is learn and grow from me. And that's, what I come down to with them that, we are each other's teachers and helpers on this journey. That we are all one, we are all part of the spirit. That soul, we are a soul having its own experience and own journey. So really coming down to this flow, going with the flow of life, and that whatever is meant for me will find me. And when it's time to move on and let it go. And I see that in this journey here over these last 5 years of, having to let go of my former husband, having to let go of the church and the people there, having to let go of, um, the relationship I had with Ronald, my family there, and and that's the thing to just love them, and send them love, send them peace, send them healing that, you know, maybe one day they'll wake up, and go down that journey as well. It just might not be the lifetime for them to do that, not the lifetime for them to heal, not the lifetime for them to evolve and grow. Everyone that's here chose to be here at this time to play these different roles. And that's the thing. Some people are not meant to wake up. And for us to grow and evolve, it has to be us. It has to be us that does move forward for our own soul growth, that choosing ourselves. And that's part of it, that's part of this journey, part of this awakening is coming to choose ourselves, not to be selfish, not to be selfish, but that I'm always with me. It's really even part of this higher consciousness, higher self and lower self, like connection, right? integrating that shadow side, knowing who you are, that self-discovery. And that is truly the ultimate relationship that you can find. And that was the thing. I wanted someone to truly look at me, truly know who I was, but I didn't even know who I was. And so, that's the thing, is coming to that self-realization and that relationship with yourself, that it is the most valuable relationship that you can have. And once you come to do that, then your relationships that you do have can grow and evolve, and you can not be so attached to them, just be there for the learning and the growing of it, the experience of it, helping and teaching them, and not be attached to this person to try to fulfill you and stuff, that you gain that fulfillment within yourself. And so that's what I'm going to say about that. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple of videos.
As we're taught in the course, all relationships are assignments. It is no accident when you meet somebody. The course says that everybody that you meet, you were supposed to meet, and there's nobody that you meet that you weren't supposed to meet. But the course says that relationships are basically 3 assignments. The first is what's called the first level of teaching. The first level of teaching is when you have a casual encounter with somebody. Let's say you met somebody in an elevator, or some child lost his little ball, and you had to choose in those interactions who you were going to be. Were you going to smile at the person in the elevator, or were you going to be cold and dismissive, which is the way the world tells you it is wise to be in some cases? Or when the child loses his ball, are you going to just kind of ignore or get angry with the child, or are you going to be real sweet and throw the child his ball back? That's called the first level of teaching. When there's no real purpose for you to have an extended relationship with this person, but for the purposes of your healing, every situation gives you the maximal opportunity to learn what there is to learn from that interaction. Now, the second level of teaching is when you come together with a person for a relatively extended period of time. And that relatively extended period of time has to do with the fact that you come together with people, and let's say you're together for 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, and then the relationship ends. Now, according to the ways of the world, according to the ego, that means that the relationship failed. Oh, that's too bad. Of course, that doesn't mean the relationship failed at all. That means the relationship might have succeeded beautifully, but there is no longer, their learning and their healing together for those two people is no longer best served by physical proximity. So then the Course says that the people appear to separate. Now, people don't really separate in those cases because we're taught that people are not their bodies. We're concerned with content instead of form, remember? So the content is the mental interaction, and that goes on forever. The Course says, whom God hath brought together, the ego cannot put asunder. So the truth for us is that once you're bonded with someone, that's it. You're in that relationship forever. So when you separate, if it seems to be that it is no longer best serving either of you to be together physically, for us that does not mean that the relationship failed. It means that the relationship, as I said, might have succeeded beautifully, and now it's time to move on.
Well, I thought that she shared some very good wisdom and insight there for sure on, these levels of relationships, and, that relationships are assignments, and that's what I've really, come to see, that relationships are assignments, that I'm on an assignment here to be this leader, play this mother role for these 2 other souls, right? At this time, and just coming through, to come to see that, what I'm really showing them and teaching them on this relationship of evolvement, of transforming even, is an assignment, and, truly coming to understand that, and that, we choose it. We choose what kind of person we're going to be in every sort of interaction, that what kind of person are we going to choose to be? And it is for our learning, our healing, our growth on this journey as well. And, when it seems like the relationships failed, right? That it just, comes through. And that's what I really see with my former husband. And in fact, is that, it comes through that he taught me everything I needed to learn, right? And once I reflect on that, of those learning lessons, it's totally different for me that he taught me a lot of different things that I needed to learn. And I definitely do feel was a karmic relationship as well from, some of the stuff when I was younger and things. And so I see that he did serve that purpose, and that when it really came down to me having to get out of it and stuff, that it happened, and the church and stuff wants to keep you bounded in these relationships and things. But, the thing is that it just might be time to let go and move forward and move on from the relationships. And, she really talked about the body, and that physically you might have this separation, but, there's this mental thing, and that's where the energy really comes in. And, you think about them and all these different things, right? There's energy and this connection still energetically. And that's why, really coming down for me of doing the soul tie, cutting these cords, cutting energetically these relationships and these bounds with these individuals that are not, evolving with me, that I have really come to energetically just be, call my energy back to me, call my power back unto me and my relationship with myself and the ones that I have a relationship with today. And it's really a mental type ordeal. Even places, right? Sometimes we're, thinking about a place we were, when we were 20 years old or something. And so you have that energetic kind of, attachment connection with that place. But, we can energetically end those things, calling our power back to ourselves, because right here in this present moment and what I am observing is the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that exists is right here, right now in this moment. Because in quantum physics, whatever you're thinking is going on right now, and there is no past, there is no future. So everything that you're thinking of is going on right now, and that helps to create your future, right? And so when you're playing the same stories in your mind, and that's one of the things I've really had to go through this year. On a side note here, even last year and through this journey is some of those even songs, you listen to a song and then you're replaying the story that you had with someone in your mind, and energetically, I've really had to come to put that to an end and stop that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share one more video.
Pay attention.
Most people look at a breakup as, okay, well, once we break up, I'm now single, right? You're either in a relationship or you're not. But there's actually, you have your breakup, then you're in a breakup process, and then you're single. A lot of people go through a breakup, like myself included, after my 10-year, and in that get stuck in the breakup process for possibly years. Some people, that relationship ends from whatever, and they never make it out, right? And what's happening in the breakup process? How do we actually get out of it? That's what people call moving on. How do you move on? The ideas out there about what it is to move on after a breakup is that you stop thinking about them, or you just let them go somehow, you cut them out, whatever that is to actually move on. But energetically, what's actually happening is that you were attracted to each other at a certain point. Let's just say that's point A, you and her attracted at point A. You dated, it didn't work while you were both at point A, and it eventually ends. Perfect. Now, if you both stay at point A, you will both continue to still be attracted to each other, still wanting each other in some ways, hard to let each other go, etc. But you already know staying at point A doesn't work. It ended the first time. So in order to move on, what actually needs to happen is you need to get to point B. And what is point B? Point B is where you integrate the lessons, your soul's curriculum from that relationship. And as you do that, it will literally shift your frequency, your vibration. Again, hippie woo-woo words, but we could go into the science of it. But it will shift your vibration and you'll be vibrating at point B. And suddenly, you're no longer attracted to point A. Anyone at point A, you're not attracted to those people anymore. When you think about your party bus days, the women that you may have been attracted to, you're probably not attracted to those women anymore.
Not even close.
Right. So point B, you naturally have quote unquote moved on. And if she stays at point A, great. You're just like, all right, deuces. But the chance of getting back together, she has to go to point B. And at point B, most of the time, you're not a match. Your point B and her point B are not a match. But sometimes it is. And that's the only way that you would be able to actually get back together and truly have a relationship again is meeting at point B together. And so the energetics of shifting your vibratory state to point B is necessary whether you want to get back together or you want to move on and never see them again. That's the necessary step. But if you stay at point A, you will always be in that breakup process and not actually able to move on.
Well, I thought that video was very, very informative about breakup processes, that you got to go through that breakup process. And, one of the things I don't think he mentioned was, when you're in that breakup process and you're kind of in this traumatized state, right? Especially when you're at point A, that, people turn to other people to, try to fulfill them, try to, and that's something that energetically, when you do, you have this transfer of trauma and that relationship, and traumatized sex is energetically just no good for anyone. So you energetically have that exchange with someone, right? And so, but it is energy, you have to go through that process and, really truly moving on, I do believe, is finding that soul lesson, that real purpose of why you were with the person. And that, sometimes people just never even learn those lessons. Sometimes they never overcome their relationships. And I know that even for my former husband, he was holding on to past relationships, and it's still, even upon him dying, even me, right? So he didn't learn those soul lessons, right? Of why was I with her, and what do I learn from this? He never got to that level B, right? And so, that's the point of learning those lessons. And I do believe once you get to that level B, that really disconnects your energy from those people anyways, because you learn the lesson, you have the forgiveness of their parts that they played and things like that. And really, when you do come to that level up, you're not attracted to those kind of people anymore. And truly, that's what I've come to learn and come to find is like, I'm not interested in having some, traumatized sex with someone. And you're going to be freaking lucky to even touch me anyways, because I'm not interested in that, BS stuff. So, I'm not going to belong to someone. I belong to myself for sure. And so, the vibration changes and, sometimes it minimizes those people, but it's for the best. You don't need to learn those lessons from those people. And that's the truth. And whatever is meant for you is going to find you. And whatever lessons that you're meant to learn, you can learn them. And if they're on that level with you, it might come down to that, you guys have some things that you can learn and grow from each other, whatever they are. But really coming to, be emotionally detached and stuff. And that's something to really continue to learn and grow and evolve on for sure. Not having those emotional attachments on other people as our vibration changes and, we move up there. And that really our connection is ultimately with ourselves and learning and growing within ourselves. And that, everyone out here is just to help us on our journeys to learn and grow from them, whatever kind of relationships there are. So that's what I've really truly come to find. So we're going to go ahead and look at some pictures. It wasn't just about the amazing sex or even the companionship. It was the way he treasured her heart and made her soul feel safe. Anyone can have their eye on you, but wait for the one who has their soul set on you. So those were very interesting, having someone's soul set on you. But, truly, leveling up consciously changes your relationships, and there's, several levels of consciousness. It truly is. And it just changes things for you. And some people, get to that level 2 of consciousness evolution, and they stay there, they don't move to the next level of things. And if we want to level up, we want to grow and we want to evolve, we want to ascend, we want to get to that new earth and these things, we're going to have to let go of people, places, and things and truly not be attached to them, disconnect from them. So we're going to go ahead and ask some questions. How to accept that the relationship is over. Allowing yourself to grieve the loss, processing emotions by talking or journaling, staying busy with positive self-care and hobbies, leaning on friends and family for support, establishing no contact and reframing from the experience to focus on personal growth and future possibilities rather than dwelling on what was or what could have been. How do you move on from someone you still love? Allowing yourself to grieve, cutting off contact to heal, focusing intensely on self-care and personal growth, like new hobbies and goals, reconnecting with your support system and shifting your perspective by acknowledging the relationship's reality and building new meaning in your life, accepting that while love may remain, the relationship is over. How do you know when the relationship is over? When there's a consistent lack of emotional connection, communication, breakdown into contempt or silence, intimacy vanishes, you feel more alone with your partner than without them, you stop sharing futures and you no longer care enough to fight for it or feel relief when they're not around, indicating deep indifference and a loss of trust or mutual respect. What are the stages of moving on? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. What ends most relationships? Criticism, questioning a partner's character, contempt, acting superior to a partner, defensiveness, avoiding responsibility, and stonewalling, refusing to engage with issues. So, and my conclusion is that while we are on this journey, this game of life, this journey, our spiritual journey, spiritual growth, evolution, evolving, ascending, on and on, we have ourselves with us all the time. And anyone else that we've come in contact with, we are, meant to have whatever encounters and interactions with them. That there are no mistakes, there are no coincidences, that everything happens for a divine plan, a divine reason. And we play our parts, good or bad, for it. Every relationship is an assignment, truly. And that's what I have truly come to learn on this journey. And that, when we've learned our lessons, when we've fulfilled our purpose in their life, in their journey, it is time to let go and truly move on and move forward on our journey and our path. And it is truly something to empower yourself to have that real divine connection with spirit, really, that spirit's with me, right? It could be our higher selves even, but that spirit that's within us is always with us. And having that true relationship with ourselves, that higher self and the lower self is, the most rewarding relationship that we will find. And, that's the thing that many people do. They avoid themselves. They avoid that relationship with themselves. And they're trying to find happiness and fulfillment with other people, other places, other things. And they're distracting themselves from truly connecting with that spirit, connecting with ourselves, healing, learning the lessons. We hold on to things. We're attached to it. We're attached to our ideas of things, including being the victim. And when you let go of all that stuff and you truly learn, you truly can evolve and truly get to another level of relationships with people and not being attached to them, having a true connection with them. You can't connect with anyone unless you connect with yourself. And really, for me, coming to learn the anxious attachment style that I've had, right? That's part of it, is that you want this connection and you end up with these avoidance that are afraid to be trapped in things. They don't want to deal with problems or relationships. They're kind of avoidance, and is because of this anxious attachment style. That's the learning lesson right there, right? That I had to find that connection within myself and create that relationship with myself. And so relationships with others will come and go, and we end up having to move on from them. And the best way that I've truly come to learn is finding that purpose, finding the soul lesson and growing from it, truly forgiving, whatever part they played. It was truly hard, all the crap that Robert put me through, right? But, truly coming to not have resentment towards him for it, that, he played his part, that, the hell that he put me through was what woke me up, because I was a traumatized mess too, I was, it was just, this big toxic thing, really. And it woke me up to help me to change and evolve. And, the right characters played in that scene, him to help push me and get me out of the church system that I needed to get out of, so that I can gain my freedom and my sovereignty spiritually, right? That I don't need that middleman. And so, I have had to come to truly learn that and truly to heal from it. And so it's really a different game and a different story when you truly come to having that, learning those lessons and truly having that forgiveness, even for yourself. Some of the things that you did yourself. And it just might be that, maybe you should have walked away sooner, and just learning that, like, hey, you know what? It stops here. I'm going to set in these boundaries for me and choose myself and not abandon myself, right? So it's all about learning. It's all about growing. It's all about our soul lessons and evolution. And once we do that, and the people that we have learned from, if there's not any more lessons for us to learn from them, we got to let them go. And that's what it comes down to. And even family, it comes a point if, sometimes they just can't go on that journey with you. And it is truly one of the hardest things to do, is to like let them go. Like, okay, see, they're on their own journey, they're on their own timeline, and that has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm over here, I'm on this timeline, I'm going down this road. And I had to come to choosing myself, and what's meant for me will find me, and everything that I'm meant to have right now at this day, this moment of time, I have it in my life and in my journey. And is there going to come a time when I got to let something else go? Sure, and take the learning lessons, learn as I go along. And it's really different when you can look at life that way and see that divine orchestration, and just be like, okay, you know what? I'm learning here from this, and this is what I'm learning from it. And so learning to move on and let go from relationships is definitely part of this. And sometimes we hold on to these people, places, and things for dear life, and we never really learn the lessons from it. And that is really part of some of the things that have been going on in this world, is that people aren't learning the lessons. They're holding on to stuff. And then they go back into another life where they have to go through some shit all over again. Time to learn the lessons. It's time to grow, time to evolve. And, you only can do it for you. You can't do it for anyone else. And that's truly the way that I've come to look at my world and my reality. Everyone is a soul having their own journeys and their own experiences. It's not up to me to learn their lessons. If I'm that person, am I the fifth person to try to teach them that lesson? Are they going to have another person that comes along, like the Ronald thing, And that's the thing. He had a woman before, he's had issues with women online, all these things, right? Well, guess what? I played my part there, right? Did he learn the lesson? Did he grow? Most likely not. He's most likely still having issues, still not evolving, right? So, I won't be the last one to serve that purpose for him, right? And so that's some of the things to really come to realize and see, and when you truly become aware, of yourself, and it's like, man, it's like I keep on seeing the same people with different faces, That's the time to really learn the lessons and grow and evolve. And if, by me putting my story out and my wisdom and the knowledge I have gained out here helps people with, hey, maybe I'm going through the same shit. Maybe I need to, maybe I need to let go of something. Maybe I need to learn these lessons and grow spiritually, so I don't have to come back here and do this again. And truly, I know that's what I'm here for, and truly knowing that, right? Knowing what I'm here for and what I am doing on this journey. And not everyone is here to serve that type of purpose, right? And that's the thing is that once you start tapping in to yourself and you unlock, some of these things, you unlock your wisdom and your knowledge and your own purpose, that's when we really change this world and get to that 5D, right? But as for me, I really just look at it, when I had my vision of the world that I was here to create, which has to begin within, that it was like the rat cage, and this really goes with the relationships, right? So when I had that vision, it was the rats, rats that the best way for me to describe it, right? Because it was more of a feeling that I got. And so to interpret that feeling, right, was rats, when they'll isolate them in cages and give them the option of water or heroin, they'll choose heroin every time. Okay. But then they'll put rats in a, community setting of rats, right? And they'll offer them water or heroin. And even if they have the addiction to the heroin, they'll choose water every time. So to me, it's really that, division and separation that you've come unto when you're in that rat cage on your own, right? And trying to look outside of yourself. But when you end up in the community of rats, that everyone and everything is in their right spot, doing their own part, and it's just this ebb and flow of this dance of creation. And that's truly what I've come to, see and envision. And everybody plays their part, good or bad, Everyone is in their right spot at that right moment, at the right time. And when you come to see that and truly see, just sometimes something just happens last minute that puts you in a place, and then you find that you were meant to be there for a certain reason, just like, you're in the airport and the flight gets canceled, but then you're sitting there and you come across the right person, right? That instead of that worrying and that fretting and irritation and anger, right? That sometimes we have, and those are the energies that we have to overcome. And so when you really come to see that, like, wow, the flight was canceled, okay, and you take a different road, and then it's like you end up meeting someone that you were supposed to gain. It's just how the story played out, you know? And so it's very interesting just to really come to see that and getting to that state of consciousness. So moving on from relationships is just something that we have to do on this journey of letting go. And sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's lovers and spouses and people we're intimate with, and sometimes it's family people. Children are not going to be in your home forever, and they will move on. They will have their own lives, their own experiences and journeys and learning lessons. And sometimes those things have absolutely nothing to do with you. You have to just take it that, you can learn from them and grow from them. Sometimes it's about not being judgmental, truly. And just being like, okay, this is just part of their journey. And sometimes it's, giving them guidance and wisdom and insight. And one of the things that I truly do come to learn and know is that for one is that I don't necessarily go straight at people. I kind of will go around them, right? And so one of the things I come to learn and know is talking, because teenagers are just at that stage. They will not listen to their parents, right? And that's just kind of how, this thing has been working, right? That they come where they just don't listen to their parents or whatever. So talking to their friends is one of the best ways that you can go. And it's actually kind of like that backdoor thing, because as you're talking to that friend who's listening to you, right, that you're giving them some wisdom and insight, right? So your kid is usually sitting there too. So they actually kind of gain it too, that you can just speak to that friend in a different way, and their friend will actually take something from it and even appreciate it sometimes. And you can even say something that their own parents would have told them, but they're going to listen to you a lot better. So sometimes just taking some of those opportunities to speak to their friends is a way to kind of get teach something, teach them both, give them some wisdom and insight. And maybe it will take them a long time, and that's what I've come to learn, is that sometimes it's like, okay, that person, they told me this is that was a learning lesson right there. That was something I needed to know about, because everything that truly, it's funny because you could have a whole relationship with someone, and what is it that you took away from that relationship? What is it that you truly remember and hang on to? Because that is part of the things that you most likely had to learn. And so anyhow, so we're here to evolve. We're here to learn, to grow, to evolve, to get to that next level, highest timeline. What is the highest self, highest person that you want to be? Because it takes you. We're the manifestors. We're the creators of our own life, our own realities, are this world that we live in. We are a part of it. And, hanging on to those people, places, and things are some of those things that we have to do to let go, to help us evolve, to help us to get to that next level. And, just coming to change our words, change our mindset, change our thinking. Everything works out for us. Everything is for us. And when we renew our mind and come to that mindset, we're going to change this world. And that's what we're here to do. And creating that unity, creating that peace, with yourself and with others, having that fulfillment and happiness within ourselves. So what is it that you're going to give up to find that kingdom of heaven within us? And, remember that we run this game. We run it. Our thoughts, our words, our emotions, and how we're feeling about things, they play an incredibly big role for us. And once we become aware of that, we can change it, number one. And, that's the thing. Change it. Change the game. It's for me. And that's where I'm at with it. So, I'm grateful for that learning, that growing, evolving. I'm grateful that I've come to really see it and see the purpose that everyone and everything truly has served on this journey for me, to help me take that ownership and responsibility over myself, my own life, my own body, and my own mind, and my own soul, truly. And so I'm grateful for all the ones that are listening, learning and growing and evolving from me, because you should be the one right here, right here. And I should be nothing more than a teacher and a guide for you. And that's truly what I put myself out here for. And so if you want any help with that healing, healing from it, getting insights, gaining something from it. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to me. My links and email are in the bio. But you know what? It's your life, it's your journey. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Embrace the chaos if you love chaos and drama and, complaining about life or whatever, embrace it. Love it, love it. Say, I love this game, oh, I got something else to complain about. But, you can change it. You can change your energy. You can, come to love life and come to love yourself and love the journey and learn the lessons. And when we do, we can get to the next level of things. Having that abundance, having that true love of life and love of journey, trusting the spirit, truly trusting that the best things are going to play out for you because you can get to that place to truly intentionally co-create your reality, your experience with spirit, with God, with universe, whatever you want to say, source, the source, that is always providing for us, always. So we're going to go ahead and play this song called Tragic because, it's tragic, some of the things that I've seen on this journey when it comes to people. And, I think a lot of us have seen it, it's just tragic. And the thing is to change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, it changes down here. So, love you.
Most people don't realize this, but we're not all living in the same reality. We're all walking this earth, but we're living in different dimensions. When you're in the lower dimensions, you believe in a God outside of you. You say things like, "Thank you, Jesus," and "Thank you, God," up there. And that's okay, because that's the level you're at. It's part of the journey. But when you go through a Kundalini awakening, when your spirit truly begins to rise, something shifts. You don't just believe in Christ, you become aware of the Christ within you. You stop thanking something outside of you, and you begin to awaken to the power that was always inside you. Christ consciousness isn't about religion. It's a frequency, a higher awareness. It's when you realize God lives in you. You see, people argue because they live in different dimensions, and they don't understand each other. Some still live in the 3D where everything is fear, control, separation. You're over here trying to speak light, truth, oneness, and they look at you like you're crazy. That's because you're not speaking the same language of consciousness. When you awaken, you rise. You begin to see the world through God's eyes, not man's. And that's why we say not everyone will get you. Not everyone is supposed to, because not everyone has risen yet. But your job is not to prove it, your job is to live it. Let your vibration speak louder than your voice. Thank you for following us at Awakening the Empaths, where truth is spoken without fear. Most people don't realize this, but we're not all living in the same reality. We're all walking this earth, but we're living in different dimensions. When you're in the lower dimensions, you believe in a God outside of you. You say things like, "Thank you, Jesus," and "Thank you, God," up there. And that's okay, because that's the level you're at. It's part of the journey. But when you go through a Kundalini awakening, when your spirit truly begins to rise, something shifts. You don't just believe in Christ, you become aware of the Christ within you. You stop thanking something outside of you, and you begin to awaken to the power that was always inside you. Christ consciousness isn't about religion. It's a frequency, a higher awareness. It's when you realize God lives in you. You see, people argue because they live in different dimensions, and they don't understand each other. Some still live in the 3D where everything is fear, control, separation. You're over here trying to speak light, truth, oneness, and they look at you like you're crazy. That's because you're not speaking the same language of consciousness. When you awaken, you rise. You begin to see the world through God's eyes, not man's. And that's why we say not everyone will get you. Not everyone is supposed to, because not everyone has risen yet. But your job is not to prove it, your job is to live it. Let your vibration speak louder than your voice. Thank you for following us at Awakening the Empaths, where truth is spoken without fear.
game I was born to play. Your feelings, they can't have a say. In this game, you're either hunter or prey. High up here on this wire, you think you can't fly any higher. You get burned before you feel any fire. When will you let go? This is tragic, we're all phantoms. You are drifting far away from here. This is tragic, in these shadows you've become everything you feel. This is tragic. Will pride will break you entire. You get lost in the climb. Your heart left to die on the vine. No one left to watch you divide. This is tragic. We're all phantoms. You are drifting far away from here. This is tragic. In these shadows, you've become everything you feel. This is tragic. This is tragic.
You ain't got a chance. Trying to go to war with the champ. Trying to go back, but you can't. Now it's only one king, I'm the man. Anybody wanna step to the plate? Better go and get one thing straight. I don't freeze and I won't hesitate. Matter of fact, y'all been running in place, can't run from your fate. Who's gonna stop me? 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 Yeah, who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? So electrical, charged up, shocking every second like a billion volts. Now we hyperactive, you don't want no static. I was born for battle, finger on the pulse. Y'all paper plastic while I go Jurassic. So far from average, running with the raptors like a slay Goliath, steady moving silent. So in other words, I am the boss. Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? I am the boss. Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? Yeah, who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? I just look at the world, such a sight to behold. Most of the stories will never get told. Been on my own for so long, I don't know what else to do, pray I don't lose my soul. Walking through fire till I'm numb to the coast. Coming for everything, diamonds and gold. Nothing to lose, all in my control. And I'm about to go savage, so don't say I won't. And I'm destined for greatness. Ain't no fabrication, ain't no time for waiting. Super fundamental, I can see them hating. Ain't a scrimmage, steady winning. I ain't quitting from the start to finish. Been in motion, this is physics. Never slowing, never getting winded. I ain't quitting from the start to finish. And I gotta wonder really if I ain't slipping in. Who's gonna stop me?